What's happening, people? And once again, welcome back to youtube.com/CubCamTV for this, another edition of Cubreacts, as we jump into another full album review. And we're doing things a little bit differently today. Normally, I'll do a track-by-track breakdown, but I thought I'd switch up the styles a little bit and more talk about today's album as a kind of whole project, as a whole piece of work. That's what we're going to be doing today. So, as always, if you are new to the channel, do make sure you are getting involved by hitting that subscribe button on the right-hand side of the page, turning notifications on, leaving a like, leaving a comment, all that good stuff. We're aiming for, by the end of this week, for us to be on 41,000 subscribers. We can most certainly do it with your help. The channel is growing rapidly. We go up about 100 subscribers every day or so. So it's crazy the amount of support we're getting. Big up each and every one of you, and I hope you are enjoying all the new content we are bringing you. Now, today, we are going to be getting into an exclusive piece of content, which I'm very excited to discuss, and that is, of course, Fireboy Dml'S Playboy album. Now, I've listened through this album numerous times. I've put together numerous reaction videos for it. I'm pretty sure we've covered over half the album in regards to the reaction videos we've put up there. And that's going all the way back to the Peru remixes, obviously alongside that Bandana, Playboy, and since then we've done 4 or 5 reactions off the project. So we've done over half the project, to be told. And I don't want to keep stringing it out and doing individual reactions. I'd rather now, at this point, after listening through everything so many times, get into a full album breakdown. Now, I have got notes on the screen. We're going to be discussing different individual parts of the project, but I want to start off with track listing. Track for track, for me, this is a solid collection of creations from Fireboy. I think realistically, this is Fireboy's most solid collection. I think this is his strongest album project, quite easily, to be honest with you. And we do get to see him coming out of his shell a little bit more than we maybe would have expected in the past, fusing international flavors such as R&B. There's a bit more kind of rap influence going on this one as well, with his own brand of Afrobeats, without it sounding forced, without it sounding like the arrangement of the album is kind of being pushed in a way that we don't want it to. And I actually quite think that this as a project is very well thought out. Even the sort of the actual track listing in regards to where the tracks are. I love the fact that it opens up with change. It's a very kind of emotional, quite a tearjerker of a tune. It does kind of put you into that mindset of, wow, life is about to change for this guy. Everything's about to be very, very different. And then obviously finishing off with Glory at the end, which is a lot more sort of hip-hop influence, and you can hear all of those different international influences coming into play on Glory. And in between that, we've got a fabulous collection, realistically. Some really interesting stuff. Again, a really good sense of fusion. The solo tracks hold up. But I want to talk firstly about the collaborations that are on there. Now, it's safe to say there aren't that many collaborations, but despite the fact there isn't a super high volume of them, every collab is a banger that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, Ashake on Bandana gives us a very multi-dimensional feel. Again, exploring the different sounds and styles that both of these two bring to the table. That kind of sort of big choral hook alongside Fireboy's approach works really nicely, and it's a good thing to see Ashake on one of the biggest albums of the year, without a shadow of a doubt. Adore with Euro has a very pleasing kind of bop to it. Definitely one of the more pop-influenced tracks, but that's not necessarily a bad thing by any means. You can hear the kind of very jolly instrumentation going to work on this one, and it does kind of, again, give the album a more international sense of appeal without it losing those basic things that we do love about what Fireboy does. Chris Brown and Shenseea as well. I saw this as a collaboration and I went crazy. This is one of the strongest multi-genre hookups we've seen in a long, long time. R&B, dancehall, and Afrobeats all joining forces. And to be honest, Diana is in my top 5 for certain. And the reason for that is because it is just so good. It is just so good. It takes in so many different influences. Again, Chris Brown absolutely kills it. I love Shensea's closing verse. And Fireboy does actually hold his own weight on this one as well, despite being linked up next to 2 very strong international heavyweights. It's a good look for Fireboy because it shows that he is competing in the same ballpark as these guys. Then obviously alongside this, Compromise delivers a very interesting, more experimental kind of feel alongside Rema, and these two intertwine really nicely. And then of course we have got the Peru remix featuring Ed Sheeran, which we have reviewed before. Done numerous kind of Cubcast episodes on it as well, so if you want to find out more about my opinions on that tune, do head over to the rest of the channel and look there. I don't want to spend too much time talking about the Peru remix, because this isn't an album about the Peru remix. This is an album for me where we get to see Fireboy Dml really showcase his vocal ability. I actually think his vocal performance on this album is a lot stronger than Apollo. We saw numerous examples of Fireboy actually showcasing his range more than anything else and exploring different melodic patterns from start to finish. It definitely felt like a very well thought out collection of tracks within which he's been allowed to just kind of go, you know what, I'm going to add that extra ad-lib there. I'm going to add that extra harmonic structure there. It feels like he's been kind of let off the leash a little bit. He's been allowed to go, cool, despite the fact we are now trying to appeal to an international audience, I'm going to do it my way. And that's a really strong feel running throughout the heart of this album. And obviously, there are different influences involved. There's no doubt for me that Fireboy does have someone in his ear right now telling him to aim for an American market. And you can hear that in a couple of the collabs. Obviously, the one with Euro, very rap influenced, and then obviously Chris Brown and Shenseea being on there. Shenseea is doing a very similar thing, trying to break that American market at the moment. We've seen Fireboy appearing at a couple of award ceremonies and obviously nominated for awards and things like that. So there's no doubt that he's a name that is definitely on that American radar. I reckon that there are people in an office somewhere going, look, you need to make sure you're making stuff that is able to reach that American market, because they want him to become a global superstar in a similar vein to a Burna Boy, a Wizkid, a Davido. These guys that have kind of already got that influence in that market, and a Thames as well, who is absolutely soaring right now, which is crazy. And again, you can hear those much more sort of R&B influenced natures on the album as well. You get to hear him really dive into his vocal bag, which I automatically associate with R&B. I'm sure there are a ton of other influences on there. And then obviously from that R&B backdrop as well, you have got the sort of floaty textures that we hear, a very strong feel on this album. I felt like every reaction I've done, I've mentioned the floaty textures and pads in the background. Everything almost sounds like you're in a PlayStation 1 loading screen, but in a good way. It has that nostalgic kind of warmth, that sort of almost cloudy fuzz to it in a lot of the backdrops, and it does fill out the tunes really well. That's almost a running theme, that and Fireboy expressing his vocal ability. For me, they're the two things that I picked up on the most, having listened through the album a fair few times at this point. And you can see there is definitely a level of mastery to this project from Fireboy. This is him to an extent going, look, I know what I'm doing here. I'm not just making one-hit wonders. Peru is definitely not going to be a one-hit wonder from me. Let's not forget, he has been on, he was on the Madonna remix this year. He's been on other big international link-ups as well, so it's not as if he isn't doing his own thing at the same time. He's definitely one of the names that I'd put into that top 5 bracket at the moment. And obviously you've got CK, Davido, and Wiz in there. Not CK, Burna Boy, Wiz and Davido in there. I'd probably put CK and Fireboy next on that list. To be honest with you, just with the international attention they are building, it's crazy. But it's an awesome thing to see at the same time. Now, one thing I have written down here is basically asking a question that does the Peru remix work in the context of the album? I think the remix should be the final track. Personally, it means you can explore the full project without having to dive into the same track twice over the course of like a 12-minute span. For me, that doesn't really make sense. I'd have probably had Peru a little bit earlier on in the track listing, and maybe even track 1, because it definitely feels like Peru was a turning point for Fireboy, and then maybe have the remix as the final track on there after Glory, because then it shows the kind of progression that he's been on. But that's a personal preference. I don't necessarily think the remix changes much about the album. I think it is literally essentially a bonus track that isn't labeled a bonus track. But again, it does help algorithmically. It does mean this album is already sat on 200 million plays within a week or so of it landing, you know, and I like that as a thing. It's them being clever, going, look, we've got these two tracks that are related. They are a part of the process of this album. Let's put them both on there so we can say 200 million streams on the album. It means realistically they could hit 500 million streams by the end of the year on this album and it not be like that mad of a possibility, which I would love to see, and that makes it one of the most streamed albums of all time within this genre. So there we go. Top 5 on this album. In 5th, I have got Sofri. I love this one. I love the dip of the percussion. And again, the delicacy of Fireboy's vocals. Those are the themes that I'm very much looking at enjoying throughout this project. Alongside this, Ashawa in 4th. A softer arrangement, but still enthralling as an overall listen. Bandanas in 3rd. Obviously, Ashake brings that kind of additional choral element to the table. But what's not to love about this? It's a collab that makes so much sense when you intertwine their vocal styles. And it's definitely one that I enjoyed. And it's one that I've enjoyed spinning on numerous occasions as well. Diana is my second favourite track on there, obviously featuring Chris Brown and Shenseea, and I'm a massive Shenseea fan at the same time. Obviously, Chris Brown is very much integrating himself into this scene at the moment, but I just love this as a journey of a tune. The progressions, the interchanging of vocals, the vocal stacking, the harmonics, everything about this is very well put together. It's got a real wow factor about it. And then for me, Afro High Life is the strongest track on this project. The fusion of different historic influences and Fireboy's roots of influence as well, is a big winner for me. It's a tune I've actually played out already, and people absolutely love that breakdown, love the horn lines on there. What's not to love at the end of the day? For me, is this album in my top, should we say top 5? It's probably in my top 5 of the year so far. There are albums this year that I've absolutely adored that I feel have not got the kind of attention they should have. But I'd say this is definitely going to end up being in my top 5, just for the sheer quality, the sheer longevity of what we're hearing, and just what it's going to do for Fireboy DML. There are a lot of reasons to like it. For me, it's going to be an 8 out of 10. Again, maybe there's a couple of things to do with the arrangement that could be changed. There are a couple of points where it's a bit like, okay, I get where you're going. But to make a 10 out of 10 album in today's market is near enough impossible. So that's definitely no slight on Fireboy DML. I don't think I'll be giving many projects an 8 out of 10 this year. But there we go. Guys, let me know your thoughts on the album in the comment section down below. I'm always keen to hear your thoughts about what we were reviewing here on the channel. And if you'd like to see more of these full EP and album reviews, do let me know in the comments as well. We'll be getting on with more reactions today. Of course, there's some interesting bits that have dropped, so do stay tuned for those. That's it from me though. If you have enjoyed, make sure you are hitting that subscribe button on the right hand side of the page, turning notifications on, of course, leaving a like, leaving a comment, and all of that good stuff. We shall see you all next time. Peace.
Sounding so good right now, but they're sounding a bright and town.
Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel right now, Cubreacts TV. Stay locked.